Welcome to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host. I talk to awesome humans, people who do great work for dogs and their people. So come and join us for today's conversation. Hello and welcome, Matt. I'm very excited to have you here today because we've been trying for a while to find and meet in the same place at the same time. So today's the day. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here, and thanks for your patience and just thanks for your message that's out there too, and what you're making available to people who really want to feel enriched and fortified in their relationship with their dogs.
Oh, I love how you said that. I might steal that. So let's start out. Let people know, where in this lovely world are you based and what's your business with dogs?
I'm currently based in Austin, Texas. We moved here about 3.5 years ago. Prior to that, we were based in Los Angeles, California. And I am, by profession, I'm a certified professional dog trainer, family dog mediator, a licensed trainer in that area. And I am on a personal mission to help support transformation in humans with their dogs. And what that means is really lending a lot of support and consideration towards the human involved in the human dog relationship. That will always benefit dogs if humans feel more supported. And there's a lot of parallels, as you know, and probably maybe a number of your listeners would know too. There's a lot of parallels in the motto that's what's good for the dog is good for me. And I would even go so far as to say what's good for a dog is good for the world. So that's my general scope of things. I started training about 16 years ago, and I should put training in quotes because when I started, I was actually afraid of dogs. I'd been bit by a dog on Halloween when I was a kid, about 7 years old. And I was afraid of dogs well into adulthood, and I didn't know how to talk about it or who to talk to, and I was ashamed. And I saw an episode of a TV show that was very popular at the time. And in that episode, that dog trainer helped a grown man get over his fear of dogs. And I thought that was possible. I didn't know that that was ever going to be possible for me. And and at that time, while I was watching that episode, I was living with somebody, my girlfriend at the time, and her dog, who was a 9-month-old terrier, which just meant he had a lot of feelings about things and a lot of opinions and a lot of needs. But he was understandably incorrectly judged as aggressive. So here I am, afraid of dogs, and I'm living with this, this mighty terrier. And this terrier is probably thinking, "What have I done to deserve this guy?" you know. But I'm open about this too, so I want to include this in this little intro here that I was at the same time I was also recovering from pretty bad problem with alcohol, and so I was getting sober, and I don't recommend detoxing and moving in with a dog. That's a 9-month-old terrier when you're afraid of dogs. Don't recommend that for anybody. But that's how I started. And part of what this dog, he would later become my dog, my girlfriend and I, we split up, but the dog ended up with me. Part of what Kingston gave me was access to the world again, because I was terrified. I didn't know how to behave in the world, much like a dog might feel. I didn't feel like I belonged, and I needed to get him out. A, to go to the bathroom, B, to go explore the world. And so helping him literally got me back out in the world again. And that was the beginning of it. And then I've had a lot of opportunities and experience in my life, and I'm what we would now call as a crossover trainer. And I'm so grateful to know what I know now and have the support that I have, and to be able to share transparently and openly about where I've come from, why it seems like it works, what the harm might be, why it doesn't necessarily work, and to be honest about the frustrations, because I think it's really hard on dog people in general, because they think the trainers have it figured out, and they don't know that we have struggles just like theirs, and hopefully we have places we can go and learn and practice and evolve. But I just know that if I didn't get the kind of support that I'd gotten, even though people were justifiably critical of what I had put out there, particularly on a television show, if I hadn't gotten the support, I wouldn't be able to show up for my dogs the way that I do today. So that's part of my personal mission here too.
Well, I love that you're sharing all of that because I think there's a lot of shame in, even like not even just professionals, but like people who feel, "Oh, I know this isn't quite right, but I don't know what else to do, and nothing else seems to be working."
Right.
And in my own experience, I like mine, the whole, for me, it all started with this guy. And, and he got bitten when he was little. And so he was like stressed and everybody told me, you have to tell them who's boss. And I was in this, like, it doesn't make sense to me. This little dog doesn't look like as he's trying to take over the world. But like, I didn't have an alternative. Like, I didn't know where else to look. And everybody kind of looked at me as if I'm nuts. And so it kind of can be quite lonely when you don't actually have, it feels like that's why I'm so passionate about to bring people together who say, well, yeah, actually now we have access to other information and better ways. So
Yeah.
how did you, I mean, actually, like one question to start, like at what point did you know from, okay, I've gotten over my own fear and I've sort of really, this relationship has given me a lot to, oh, actually, I want to help other people with their dogs. And then I'm curious about sort of that transition, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, thank you. I want to just touch on something you said that I think is really important, and that's the isolation that people feel.
Mm.
That's an experience people are having worldwide. Obviously, given the conflict that we're in, this feeling that we're not a part of, we're apart from, and we're unfortunately we're no better off in the dog world. Maybe even more polarizing, I suppose, in many ways. Because that's really a really hard place to be. Living with a dog is hard. It's hard for the dog. It's hard for the human. But living with a dog with behaviors that lead to isolation, that's really common, and it's really difficult. And that's there's a lot of despair that comes from that. So for me, I think in answer to your question, there was I had this sense, even as my clients were saying, I'm seeing amazing changes in my dog. I had this sense when we were at the height of our popularity in Los Angeles with a community of dogs that were not they were kicked out of other daycares, they weren't welcome in other daycares, they couldn't pass personality tests. um, I had this sense that it didn't matter how afraid I was, I needed to be able to help them. And there was a really important shift for me when I got a chance to hear Dr. Ian Dunbar speak and actually speak with him privately. And he had said at the time, roughly 90% of aggression is fear based. And I could relate to that so much as a human that I really, most of what I have done is because I was afraid. And I thought maybe if I can scare you or if I can make you go away, like that would bring me relief. So that was a really healthy anthropomorphization for me to consider dogs differently. And once I begin to see the behavior from different motives than what I was assigning them, I didn't take the behavior personally. And that saved me so much stress. It really was the cure for my fear that the thing that I was afraid of, having been bitten by a German Shepherd all those years ago, was based on a misunderstanding. And the Shepherd was wagging its tail on Halloween when I was 7 years old and I reached for the bucket. And the adults, knowing what they knew and not knowing what they didn't know, they all said a wagging tail means the dog is happy. And we know professionally that that's not the reality of it. So getting that gift of objectivity and context and consideration for the behavior really changed my life. But as you know, there's when one is considered the expert, and I was not the expert. I still don't consider myself an expert, though I'm 16 years in the field here. And but when we go to the expert for the solution, oftentimes we just need relief. I'm kind of shocked when my clients will say, that one phone call we had really made a difference. And I'm grateful that I have learned how to offer support in a 20-minute phone call or in a single session. But I know there's so much more. There's so much more opportunity and growth, et cetera. So when I'm talking to people at that height of our popularity and they're saying, we're following some of your recommendations and we're seeing some amazing changes, and I know that there's something else, like, but I can't stop this 15 person staff facility that's 24/7. Like, I can't stop the machine. What am I going to do about this? And the timing was quite interesting because at that point we had the first season of this television show that I did that was out. And when I watched the rough draft of the television show before it went public, I looked at it and I thought, I don't like what I'm doing. And I don't like how I'm doing it. And there's things I wish I had done differently or things that I wish I hadn't done at all. And this is going to be a problem. And so before the understandable professional backlash to that show, before that even happened, I reached out to somebody asking for help because I needed new help. And that person, I've talked about this quite a bit. That person was Michael Shikashio, and Michael Shikashio, bless him, the first thing he said is, "Your name seems kind of familiar, and it must be hard for you to work with dogs and learn new things with all of the controversy around you." I thought, what an unbelievably generous offering he made. And so I started picking his brain. And then when we got a chance to film a second season, I said, I'm going to show the evolution of a dog trainer myself. And I'm committed to becoming the only certified professional dog trainer on television at that time. Maybe not anymore, but I said, I'm going to use this as an opportunity. And the network said, that's great, Matt. We'll let you do that, but really, like, don't focus on education too much because it's not going to sell. That's what I was told.
Yeah, that's
So
oh.
that journey has been a weird one.
Mm.
But that's a segment of it when we're talking about, how do I grow and where the fear is. That's a really meaty part of it because I was being publicly reinforced.
Yeah.
I knew better and I knew I needed help and I didn't know how to get the help and I couldn't stop the machine. And
That's such a difficult one because on the one hand, you've got the exposure to reach a lot of people. And
right.
on the other hand, you don't have the control over doing it with your way. It's like, ooh, that's almost worse than not reaching people, right? Than sort of reaching
Yeah.
them with something you're not really standing behind anymore. So what's
Yeah.
the biggest change in how you work with people, or like
Mm.
what's the outcome, like what for you, what feels like, and that sometimes, on the outside people might just be happy now and they were happy, like, like it may not be
Yeah.
that visible on the outside, but what's the biggest difference for you?
Well, I would say for me, um, I have just learned how to simplify everything, which is interesting because I know so much more than I ever did, and I have a better contextual understanding of what I've done uh, than I ever have. And it's quite simple. Like, I'm here to help take the pressure off you and your dog. That's it.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? Well, let's talk about it. Where do you really have the greatest struggles? Well, on the leash with walking. Okay. How's your dog sleeping? He doesn't sleep very well. He's easily disturbed. And okay, so he might have a hard time on the walks if he's not sleeping well. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? And then we
Yeah.
start to build a basis that's a foundation or build or fortify a foundation that's wellness based. What does your dog
Yeah.
like to do and love to do? And what's its genetic predisposition? And are you getting any of those needs met? Not really. Well, my dog loves fetch, but he's just hyper obsessed. That's so hyper focus might not be great for the nervous system, but is there a way that we can utilize that in a way that's going to be fulfilling for this dog? I just keep
Yeah.
coming back to how do I take the pressure off? So I feel much more nimble and skilled. And I guess the other thing, even though we're in a results driven business and industry and arguably world, I'm really comfortable going in and saying, I don't know. I don't know. We're going to find out. And I'm going to ask your dog. And that is also a cornerstone. I'm going to help take pressure off by way of learning what is and isn't pressure for your dog. And then everything else, like, we can fill in the blanks with.
I love that. I think that, the take, and it really reminds me of how similar We actually are. When I work with people in my, with clients in my work, that's people,
Yeah.
first thing is let's take the pressure, zero pressure. Like let's, just relax into it because we just function better when, and dogs are the same, anybody is the same. And I love the holistic approach that we don't just fix the symptoms, because if we go to the root of it, then
Yeah.
most of the time there's nothing left to fix.
Yeah, yeah, that is right. And that's been amazing. Like anecdotally, I can say in the last few years that I've committed to working that way, that easily 60 to 70% of the quote behavior problems go away. And I didn't do any training.
Yeah.
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 I'm not even comfortable really calling myself a trainer. And I even think like at best, I'm a learner. Like I come in, I'm the learner, I'm the primary learner, and the dog is the teacher, and then the other people are observers, and then the dog's people, they're learning also, but really like let's create a space where we have the freedom to observe, and then we'll build up our learning experience.
So you're the translator, basically. You understand dog, and then you explain. I think your job is to help the dog's people to actually be able to understand what the dog's saying.
Yes, I would actually take it a step further because I feel very strongly that I am not the Zen dog, but I'm its curator. And the ethos of the Zen dog is that we have the freedom to explore and express who we are as dogs. And that the logo of the Zen dog, which is not the logo behind me, that's actually a project that I'm working on in the same spirit. But the logo of the Zen dog has an open-ended circle because there's always more information to get. And spoiler alert, if anybody looks at the ZenDog logo, you will find in the middle of the logo is the image of a sitting Buddha. That's in the pad of the ZenDog logo so that one can practice being at peace with growth in life and the unknown. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable is a skill set that I had to learn. And it has changed my life and my work with dogs.
Yeah. And I would bet my life that it would actually apply to all areas of life as well.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. So if somebody wants to find out more and get in touch with you, what's the best place to go?
Well, you can find us at thezendog.com. And one of the things that I really appreciate about our business model is that I'm accessible, and you can book a 20-minute free courtesy Zoom or a phone consult at any time. Happy to talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, if I can be helpful. And then I'm generally pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, but I've been quiet lately in part because I'm working on a project called Dog People Evolution, which is a global conference which is set to launch in late May, early June of 2025. And we will have over 20 virtual speakers and 10 live speakers. The live presentation is going to be held outside of Stockholm, Sweden. And we have a lot of new voices, amazing voices, really well-known voices in the dog care field. And we are gathering for one single purpose, and that's to support human change. Because if we want to help more dogs, we have to learn how to help more humans. And that will be available. Tickets will be available soon. Promotions will go out soon. And that's my goal. My goal is to help the people that love their dogs but want to know new ways to love them.
I love that.
Do that without shame, without judgment, and in a community.
I love that. So when that promo goes out, please let me know. I would love to help share the message and spread the word. So thank you so much. And this was an absolute delight. And I hope it won't be the last time that we've met.
It won't. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. If you haven't already, head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for weekly doggy cuteness, tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog-loving heart. And if you know a awesome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, at soultouchedbydogs.com. zendog.com.